I want to take a second and talk to you about how I was able to achieve the nice swirl pattern within my epoxy.
The Naughty Artisan.
Naughty Nation, here we are, third day, the pour is done. I want to take a second and talk to you about how I was able to achieve the nice swirl pattern within my epoxy. This epoxy is mostly firmed up overnight, still a little tacky. We're gonna let it firm up another 24 hours before we begin finishing on it. But I did want to talk to you about how I got this nice swirl pattern in here. A lot of people wonder how you're able to achieve that. With these long open times, when we first swirled it, like you remember in the previous video, the swirl pattern was gorgeous, but over time it slowly melds together, turns into this muted color, like these real pretty patterns. They're not visible in it. So the way we were able to achieve that is we actually put our initial pour about 1/8 of an inch shy, so the wood was sitting a little proud, and we let that cure up. And later that night we came up and I just mixed up some normal casting resin, and I put in a heavy amount of the metallic coloring that we're using, and then I poured just the final 1/8 inch right in here, and as you can see now it's fairly flush with that. It's not sitting high, and I filled in the remainder of it. Now even at that point, as I swirl it, the epoxy is still during its open or working time, so it's real malleable, and you'll move it and you'll watch it kind of melds back together. This particular epoxy I'm using, the Stone Coat, has about an hour 15 minutes working time. So all I did was put the pattern in I wanted. I set my phone for 15 minutes. I looked at it, I put it in, and after about an hour 15 minutes, the epoxy had reached a state where when I took I was using the tip of a pencil and ran it through there, it actually was quite thick. It would peak up almost like a frosting. And that once you reach that point, I know the pattern I set is gonna stay, because it's beginning to firm up and harden. It doesn't have time to blend all those colors together. So I came in and mixed my pattern. It actually looks a little lumpy, but you can watch it slowly levels out and locks in. And then that's how you're able to get the pattern in your epoxy. In this particular end table we're making, I really wanted to emphasize that because there's a lot more epoxy than I do in some other projects. And I wanted to add some extra points of interest to this. So that's how we got that. If you have any other questions, just feel free to comment below. I'll answer them the best I can. But that's a good little tip. I hope you use it.
The Naughty Artisan. The Naughty Artisan.